All right, welcome back once again after the lunch. Now, in this session, we have the plenary session on homeopathy. So, for this, the first lecture would be from Professor Dr. Pankaj Agrawal, MD, Professor and HOD, Organon of Medicine, NHMC Agra. He'll be presenting on the method in homeopathy's individualization. And let me brief on Professor Pankaj ji. So he has started his own profession, which is an inheritance from his father, and he has received his DHMS, Diploma NIH, MA Psychology, MD honors, and he has his clinical practice also. And as an occupation, he has earned professorship and also head of department, heading Organon of Medicine, NHMC Agra, practicing homeopathy physician since 1991. He's a medical counselor, mentor to all the pass-out doctors in the homeopathic system. And professionally, he deals with all kinds of diseases, chronic, acute, critical cases. And he has been a professor since the last 15 years. He has been an examiner, guide in various universities, resource person, Ayush department. He has also presented research papers nationally and internationally, even at the local forums. And he has also organized seminars, workshops, medical camps, and to his credit, there are a couple of research papers which were published in journals, renowned journals. And not only that, he has been extending services to various community programs, like organizing medical camps in various societies and SPI branches, villages. He has been a membership of Asian Homeopathic Medical League, Progressive Homeopathic Society, World Federation of Homeopathy, and a couple of honors and awards are also credited to him, like the Lifetime Achievement Award 2007 by Board of Homeopathic System of Medicine, Government of India, Lohav Vikreta Mandal Award 2009, Ghaziabad, awarded for case presentation Mind and Cancer, a hidden link in Smile, similarly British Homeopathic Journal, United Kingdom, and several of them in several medias like TV and FM radios. He has also been interviewed. And on official duties, he has also served as an inspector of colleges and subject experts. And he has attended a large number of workshops in homeopathy in cardiology, AIIDS, research methodology, etc., undertaken homeopathy in mother and child healthcare, homeopathy in kidney diseases, and he has presented papers on genesis of diseases, homeopathic perspective in the workshop of integrated healing from 25th to 27 April 2016, organized by Sanchi University of Buddhist Indic Studies, Bhopal, MP. So may I request Dr. Pankaj once again to deliver his presentation. The method in homeopathy is individualization. You have 45 minutes time slot and 15 minutes for Q&A.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know what a long introduction given. Not really required. I'm just a student of medicine, student of homeopathy, and I'm really thankful to this CUTS, Central University of Tibetan Studies. Very lucrative, very apt name, CUT. It is going to cut all the diseases of the humankind. Very nice. And I'm really accompanied with my very learned colleague, friend, Dr. Subhash, another friend, Dr. Shripad Hegde, and one student of Delhi, one college is there in homeopathy. She is also here, along with all of you. let us enjoy some 45 minutes something about homeopathy. Do you know about homeopathy something? Not really. So it's a good opportunity to me given by this university to at least make you, uh, understand what exactly homeopathy, otherwise generally lot many other ideas, what is this, sweet pills everywhere, same medicine for different diseases. So let us start. First of all, my regards to my father, Dr. L.M. Khan, my father, Dr. M.L. Agrawal, and my professor, Dr. L.M. Khan. So, one thing we all understand that whatever practice we do, whether homeopathy or Tibetan medicine or anything Ayurvedi or whatever it is, we all, deal in life. In Sanskrit, it is called Jeev, means soul. So, if you see the life, there is a lot of unity in the diversity. We experience life, in the plants. We experience life in the animals. We experience life, in various formats available. So, and this planet, this is about some 4 billion years old, and this life seems to be almost in a state of evolution constantly up to the human being. And maybe some more evolution going on we may not be knowing. But one thing is sure that, excuse me. So one thing is sure that whatever we understand about life, since beginning, there is something to be known as disease, something to be known as something wrong with the life. We all know certain diseases in the plants, even animals they get sick, and same is the human being. The only difference is that human being is so sensitive, he can look at himself to the fellow beings and understand what exactly happening, what is this disease. So we are able to develop, such institutions like university, clinics and medical colleges. But such sensitivity is not with the animals, not with the plants at all. So that is the part of the evolution of the life. So disease is not something, happening to the human beings. So we can say that human being is the latest prey of the diseases. And thanks to the Almighty, the human being is given that thoughtful mind. He can make out how to understand disease, how to diagnose it, how to cure it. So if you see initially some 50,000 or more than that years before, the primitive man, he was also experiencing diseases. And of course, now after the civilization, we have number of much more diseases. It seems as if that as we are becoming more civilized, we are becoming more and more diseased, more and more into the problems of the health. So in the primitive time, the issues were different, but diseases were there. In civilization and civilized human being, the issues are different, but diseases are there. So there is no such avoidance of crisis, no such avoidance of pain, no such avoidance of diseases. It is there, it was there, it is there, and it will be there. We have been trying to understand diseases and find ways to diagnose them. This is what we all are doing. This led to various methods of diagnosis. Reasons to this multitude of diagnosis methods embedded in the long history of mankind. Amongst all, two viewpoints have been emerged, which will be, I'll go into the detail of it further. Thought process here is that we are discussing a seminar, full 3-4 days seminar to understand about the diagnosis. And we have various views. Why so? Why we have various views? Disease is one, but views are various to understand the diagnosis of it. So, if we go further into detail, I will be taking that up, that it will be finally into the two main basic viewpoints because of which number of different viewpoints have come up. So, I will come to that. Now, having known the individualization, what is individualization? I will take it. Physicians can take the organism towards the path of cure. This is what, you know, the understanding of homeopathy, what I am talking to you. Now, is this really possible? I just show you two examples of cases which I treated myself in my clinic. So, seeing the photograph, the left one is a diseased foot. This person around 65 years old was suffering with diabetic foot. This is a diabetic gangrene foot. So, this was treated with homeopathy. We all understand that when there is a gangrene because of the diabetes or any other reasons of gangrene, if that comes, the only answer is that you have to amputate that particular part. But after the treatment given with homeopathy, the foot recovered. This is what is the possibility with the homeopathic treatment I have experienced. I learnt, I read and I experienced, and like I experienced, my colleagues and many other homeopathic doctors, they have been experiencing this in their clinic in various different conditions and various different diseases. This is one example I took here. Another one, this was a lady, she was, you know, stone in the gallbladder, and she was under my treatment for that condition. Suddenly what happened, she called me and said that I am suffering with a severe pain in the abdomen. So, with the description it was very well understood that we all understand gallbladder stone has a complication when it enters into the common bile duct, CBD. So, what is going to happen? It is going to stuck there and it will cause a medical emergency. So, that is called colodocolithiasis. So, that condition developed. I saw her, examined her, everything according to the ways and methods of homeopathy. I found her individualization movement matching with a drug called chamomilla. She was given that medicine. And to my own surprise, I told them clearly, I am giving the medicine, till then you just make out and find out which hospital where, because she may require a surgery that is called ERCP, that is maybe just make the arrangements till I give the medicine. So, after that medicine I experienced, and there is a report and everything that what all has happened, that stone, you know, passed away, and I made a track record of it. What happened in, you know, pain just went away in a day. Because of such stone, patient develops jaundice. So, all those symptoms, color of the stool becomes white, just that went away in 5 days. That jaundice she developed just went away. Like this, in some series of ultrasound I noticed, there was first ultrasound, there is a stone very clearly mentioned in the CBD, 6 mm stone. Second ultrasound done, second day, I found that stone become a dust, and it is seen in the common bile duct. And after that, another ultrasound, third and fourth ultrasound, it is just passed from there and through the duodenum and the large intestine, it must have passed through the stool. That's the emergency over, everything over. The sweet pills, you know, did a marvelous surgery without hurting the patient, without cutting anywhere. This is what, you know, my experience I have been doing in my clinic with homeopathy. So, the point is how it is being done. What is this individualization I am talking about? So, let us just understand this. And you know, if we really want to understand why this various ways and different thoughts about diagnosis and what is this individualization we are going for. We have to just little bit, some 4 or 5 slides I have taken related to the historical part of the medicine. This is what we should really understand. Homeopathy basically originated in the West, in the Germany, by Master Hahnemann, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, but it was a very good blend of external Eastern medicine and the Western medicine. To really appreciate its origin, especially how Master Hahnemann could fetch it out, one has to delve deep into the history. So here we go. We all understand everything is dynamic. The whole universe is dynamic. And in that, whatever it is, all dynamic, so knowledge has to be dynamic. It is shifting, going from one place to the other, one continent to the other, one hemisphere to the other hemisphere. It is just shifting around. And in the shifting of the knowledge, and especially all walks of human life, all science, knowledge of medicine or art, culture, everything shifts over from one continent to the other and one hemisphere to the other hemisphere. The only thing is, in that, the political changes, the political ideologies, change of political ideologies, they play a very, very big role. We all understand this. I am not going into that detail. So the basic view on history of medicine can be very well explained, with this chart. Just have a look. Explanation is not really required. You can just understand this, that some 6,000 years before, you can say before Christ, means from now some 8,000 years or 9,000 years before, there was no civilization and only prehistoric records are available. Thereafter, we have historic records available of different civilizations, mainly Mesopotamia, Egypt, India and China. So all these knowledge, they were just moving around and going, and finally at the end, now we have two thoughts where the medicines are treated. They are treating on the law of similia and the law of contraria. So not to go into much of the detail, but the illuminating light world enter into the West world in the 2nd millennium BC. But this was, you can say, a very golden period of that time, but courtesy to the political dynamism, this flame of light could not sustain. Finally, in the 1st millennium AD, means 180 to 1500 AD, this is the most difficult time for the human race, whole human race, because it was all dark in respect of knowledge, in respect of science and all these things. So this was the most difficult time, and this has, taken a backseat for the human race, because before that human race was almost its golden age. So because 15 years dark ages, everything buried, especially the aspect of medicine. There was only one thing, that the Holy Church teaches such and such, dictated, that's it. That was the whole thing in these 1500 years. Yes, but the flame was not completely off. It was the Arab in Asia who had been holding the torch of light. Era for the development of new medicine, that is homeopathy, has begun. Or of Pythagoras, Hippocrates and other vitalists, those who believe in the vitalistic concept of, has worked for the new development of this system of medicine. In the late 18th century, the young Samuel Hahnemann rebelled against the misguided notions of new rationalists in the world of medicine and in the history of medicine. Hahnemann understood the Western version of Vedic medicine. I call homeopathy the Western version of Vedic medicine, envisioned by Pythagoras, established by Hippocrates. And along with what is going on the development of new things after the Renaissance, another line parallelly going along, that was Median school of Ionians and post-Hippocratic legacy, misled the humanity by their erroneous, incomplete concepts. This was furthered more due to the various political crises around the world. Finally, the all understanding of the medicine got divided. One Dr. Harris Coulter, who wrote extensively on the history of medicine, he wrote that book, 4 volumes, with the name of Divided Legacy. So we got divided. Finally, many number of schools of thought in medicine emerged, and it has been very well cited in our literature by the master. And what happened? There is a conflict of holism and the rationalism. The holistic concept of medicine, for the time being, got buried very deep. Just to conclude what I was talking in the initial part, that regarding the diagnosis, because of all these historical part what I discussed with you, finally what we can conclude with this history, that regarding understanding of disease, regarding the understanding of the diagnosis, we can just say that there are 2 viewpoints, 2 thoughts, 2 different thoughts of school have emerged. The first one is believing in theories in which diseases have existence independent or separate from the suffering organism. Here the discerning disease is called diagnosis. You know what happens when somebody has some certain disease? To understand that, think something has gone into that person. Earlier, that foreign was spirit. Now, the foreign is certain kind of protein, certain kind of molecule. Only difference is this. And we, with all very big technological development, what we are tracing, we are finding that foreign substance. And because of that thing, the medicine has completely went into the hands of the technologist, and finally all patients, they are under the hands of technologist to find out the disease, to find out foreign in them, so that one very learned physician by their medication or by their surgical procedure can really bring that out, that foreign substance. This is the big one ideological thought that has been prevailing since till date. Only meanings are different. Now if I was reading a book with the name of Psychoneuroimmunology by Robert Adler. They have extensively done research on the immunological aspect and the relationship of psych, immune and endocrines. And they are telling this kind of antibodies and this kind of things have developed which is causing this disease and all. So their only idea is why this antibody has come. It is something foreign to our body and we need some medication or certain procedure to remove that. This is the whole thought behind the diagnosis. But there is another thought parallelly going on since beginning, and that is theories in which diseases have dynamic origin. And this dynamic origin is within the organism. This is, this is not something foreign within us. It is something, which is being, kind of our vitality, certain kind of changes, so that thing has occurred to the system, they are just correcting it. And for correction purposes, some alteration has come up. And that vitality, that vital force, that vital energy of that living person, when it is trying to fight that out, whatever has happened to that human being because of the influences of environment, various thought process or stress and strain issues and so many other things, That is the origin from us only. Disease is not something me. It is mine only. Only thing is, it is just showing how to correct it. It is rather whatever the symptoms are coming up, whatever the disease coming up, it is rather the wisdom of the vitality to really express what's wrong and how to correct it. It rather guides for the corrections, not that it is something bad has occurred. So these are the two ideologies which have been going along, and that is why we are sitting here to understand, and no need to say that homeopathy or whatever the alternative system of medicines are there, they belong to the second ideology, that is understanding the diseases as something which is part and parcel of the human being, diseased human being. It is just for the, it is for the good, not for the bad. These two undercurrents led to the understanding of diagnosis of disease to medical men from past till now. Homeopathy belongs to the second one, wherein the physician has to diagnose the dysrhythmic state of vital power. This very process, this method, understanding this dysrhythmic state of the vital power, if one physician understands in homeopathy, this particular dysrhythmic state of the vital energy is known as individualization. How we know this? What is this method? We'll come to know. Blessed Hahnemann dug this truth out by paying the toll alone for the suffering, sighing humanity. Established medical art deals with the life, and the principles of life must be of its own and not based on principles of physics and chemistry. This is something very important to understand, what actually has happened. Life is one entity, very, very important entity, but all physicians of different streams dealing with the life, but the rules are different. If we really want to deal with the life, what should be the rules? What should be the principles to understand, to deal with the life? The principles, they are, must be find out from the life itself. They have to be experienced. Like, I give you an example. We all study physics, and physics and chemistry, they are two subjects that they experienced their laws, Newton's law, and law of uncertainty, like that, modern physics rules. In chemistry, there are different, we have been going through those laws. They are the laws of the chemistry and the physics. And because of those laws, they are working for the good of the mankind. But in the medicine, what has happened? We thoroughly and completely and without even any intelligent idea, we borrowed all the laws of physics and chemistry and applied on the living being. There the problem has occurred. I just give an example in the class. Like, for example, every one of us, we have certain time for the having a lunch. There are certain regions in the world, they take lunch early, some they take late, some do not. Now, what happens when we feel hungry? At the same time, in the stomach, there is a release of HCl, hydrochloric acid. Am I right? So, when this release has occurred, that HCl has to be in the stomach bag, not allowed up to the esophagus and not allowed towards the duodenum. But in chemistry, we all studied HCl, their basic properties, their chemical properties, their physical properties, but I think nothing is written there that HCl as an acid cannot go here and cannot go there, has to be there and come at a particular time according to the person. Like that, so many things, happening in our body. Like if you see our skin, it changes in every 28 days. In the liver, it changes in 6 weeks. Our bones, they change in 1 year. So that is the most important celebrating reason to celebrate happy birthday. We all celebrate happy birthday. That's a biological reason for celebrating, because we change. But how this change constantly going on? What is the chemistry behind? What is the physics behind? And another thing I just tell, if suppose you want to tell your friend, I am a very good friend of you and dear friend, I love you. So anyone here can say this in a physics language, in a formula of a physics or a chemistry? If I want to say my daughter, I love you, you are my very darling daughter, I cannot say that in physics formula or a chemistry formula. So definitely life is something more than that, and there lies the laws of life. I am not saying don't read physics, I am not saying don't read chemistry. They have certain bearings, but life has something more than physics and chemistry, and the laws and rules of life, they lie there, and that is what is required to really understand the life. If we understand life with its own rules, we'll be able to understand the alteration in the life, that is disease. We'll be able to diagnose them properly, and then what is there if we diagnose and we don't have solutions to that? Nowadays what is happening? Whatever it is, number of diseases, allergic rhinitis, we are able to diagnose well, but you have to live with it. We are heard, patient comes to us and they say, we have to live with it. We diagnosed gangrene, but we have to live with it. Amputate the leg if you want to live. So like that, number of diseases, forget about cure, that is over. Only you have to learn how to live with allergic rhinitis, how to live with this, that, X, Y, Z. This is the whole understanding. So why it has happened? Because we just stuck to physics and chemistry only. It is something more than that. So in homeopathy, what we do in the individualization, we understand those life aspect which is more and above than the physics and chemistry. How? If you want to understand the human being, and understanding of the human being is possible by the knowledge of anatomy, physiology, and their disease by pathology, etc. How we understand anatomy, physiology? We understand anatomy and physiology by the structures. We have certain 10 systems, GIT system, urinary system, we have system. What we have done is, we have made the blocks, we have made the separate structures, as if the liver exists separately and the lungs exist separately. This is how we study. Now the time has come that only this building block will not do, because the idea was learn the building block, how it is being made, like because the universe is a machine, and in the machine, if there is something wrong happens, what all you have to do is open the machine, find out which part not working properly, and what all you have to do is only repair the part or replace the part. This was the idea, and we need to learn all things by different blocks. But the life rules are different. This is the first, very foremost rule of the life. There is nothing like this. Actually, it is the pattern, not structure. It is the pattern. So that is why I wrote structures versus pattern. It is the pattern that how, the intestines are related with the urinary system, how the mind is related with the body, how the brain is related with endocrines, how endocrines are related with every part, every cell of the body. That is the most important thing, that this pattern is really required to be understood. And this pattern, it has a certain basic understanding of each human being. It becomes special in each individual. That is the reason when it becomes special in each individual, the individualization is explained. Like in physiology, certain glimpse of this understanding is there. You can't really take the blood of Mr. A and without matching, you can't transfuse the Mr. A's blood into Mr. B's blood. Not possible. You can't graft one part to the other person. We all look same. But no, the physiology teaches every cell is the very, very individualistic of our own self. So that is something very important to understand, that we all are looking, though we are looking same, but we are all individual in our every aspect of presentation, and even in physiology and psychology. Oh, we all are different. So that is something very important to understand. This is the, you may ask, what are those rules of the life? Yes, this is the first rule of the life, that understanding the life is not by only the structures, it is by pattern we must understand. So when we understand the pattern of the healthy human being, we will be able to understand the pattern of diseased person. I am not really saying disease, because as you leave aside structures, you leave aside particular organ, particular cell, particular tissue affected. It is not that way to be taken. It is to be taken with the diseased person. You can make out that that man who suffered with gangrene I treated, I did not treat his foot. I treated that person having that gangrene in the foot. So knowing that person, I tried to understand according to the homeopathic rules, the patient as a person, patient as a personality, then his when we say physical journals, I have written here, there I mean to say, their homeopathy means to say, how's your appetite, how's your thirst, how's urine, stool, sleep, sweat, dreams, all those, basic generalities what they are. So if you go into the details of each patient, you will come to know some are hungry in the morning, but some are not hungry in the morning. Some have a hunger for sour things, some are aversion to the sour things. Some have, the craze and crave of having meat, and some have the aversion, like that, this kind of aversion. Can I take 5 minutes or only 2 minutes? 5 minutes. So these are the important things to be understood. Now, if whatever I was talking, these are the details. If you really see the left side of the block, you will find that there are so many psychosocial factors which make our pattern different. There are so many, environmental factors, they make our human beings, organisms pattern different. Like that, all these things, another important third is that our genetics. We have so many free gifts from the family as a disease. They are the free gifts allotted to every one of us. All these three together, they create our psychoneuroimmunology, and that means our psyche, our nervous system, our endocrinal system, our immune system. They create that. And this is actually presenting the whole well-being of the person. We look into all those things. Then another important thing is the medicines used in our system. That is, they are known by drug proving. Drug proving is a magnificent process in homeopathy. Only thing I would like to present here is that it is being done on the healthy human beings. That means the drugs and what they can do, we come to know giving them and noticing what changes are occurring. So we come to know about the drugs by their provings on the human beings. And finally what we do is the pattern of a diseased person noted down, and we note down the pattern of the drug after the proving. And on the similia basis, on the law of similia, we apply, we match A with the B, and we apply B, that means the medicine, to the A, that means the diseased individual. And by the law of similia, what happens? They neutralize the disease, they remove the disease completely from the human being without any harm at all. So this is how it happens. This is the graphic presentation of it. So just to understand the basic, understanding of the science of this, the whole what we call as so-called modern medicine, there the things are causaltic. They look into the cause behind, and then with the cause and effect method they go ahead, and that is they called scientific approach. But I say that in homeopathy the approach is phenomenalistic. We go with the phenomena, we look at the effect. Phenomena means the effects. We understand the effects, and this is the approach to the science. There is a difference between approach to the science and scientific approach. As I said earlier, the Holy Church says and dictates such and such things. Nowadays, the scientific approach says such and such you have to follow. No. We have to see what is the approach to the science. That is where the difference is the thing. So finally, we can say, if you go and study the modern physics, one very important person, Robert, he said, every atomic event is individualistic. The electrons which are dancing, you are really not sure if I have seen him at this place, the next time this electron or any other electron can be here at this place. So they all are individualistic. So that is how we all are individual. Our diseases, they present themselves with their individualistic approach. If we will be able to follow this, understand, if we really understand their pattern. So to conclude, what I can say is, homeopathy recognizes the individuality of each patient or each case. The entire examination of the patient is conducted with a view to discover not only the general or common features of the case by which it may be classified diagnostically and pathologically, but the special and particular symptoms which differentiates the case from others of the same general class. 5 patients having typhoid, they all have different kind of typhoid. All are typhoid, but their kinds are different. All are guavas, all are oranges, but they vary. This is Allahabadi guava, and this is this place orange, like that. It recognizes the fact that no two cases of the patients, even with the same disease, are exactly alike, and maintains that a true science of therapeutics must enable the practitioner to recognize these differences and find the needed remedy for each individual. In actual practice, the differences are very often the deciding factor in the choice of the remedy. To use a frequently quoted epigram in homeopathy, what we say, homeopathy does not treat disease, it treats patients. In one word, it individualizes. It may be added that homeopathy is the only method by which the prescriber is able to thus individualize his medication too. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Questions?
Good afternoon. Two questions. One thing about mind and our body relative. About mind and body relative. How is it in the homeopathy? Right now we seen in two sections, like Sada or Unini. They are also not mentioned about our mind and body relative. In our Soriba, where we are very important point about our mind. If our mind is not well, then on that cause our body will become weak like that. In right now homeopathy, no topic about the mind. Then one thing this one. Then second question about Vedic medicine. I think you are carrying gallbladder. Gallbladder, I think I will accept on that. I think before some year I test a lot of Ayurvedic medicine, but most medicine are sore, very sore and hot. But I think gallbladder is cause of like a, what is like our bone flesh, bone flesh, no? But our body is weak, then our body is not digesting proper, then this digest will be making us like strong, then getting hard. Then on that hard time, then your medicine is very sour, is very hot. This will be direct to melt the flesh. Flesh, I think there's bone flesh also. Then I think this will be very helpful to the gallbladder side. But our body is not naturally only cold one. Then our body is not only hot one also. In our psoriatic bath, we have to keep two tab. One is natural cold and one is natural hot body. Then about your body is very medicine comes hot. Then our body also naturally hot. Then this too hot, medicine also hot, body also too hot. This hot will be clashing in our body. Then this will be not help to us. Then this will be side effect to us. Then how on that? If any Ayurvedic, there is any cold medicine or any method on that?
All right, please. I understood your question. Please sit down. Actually, the very important question. One very important question is the relationship of mind and body, how it is there in homeopathy. And another important question is about the law of similia he is talking, because suppose if medicine is hot and the disease condition, whatever the gallbladder and all, if that is also hot, and when too hot becomes together, then it has to be hotter. It has to cause really a very big disease, very big problem. So it is a very important question that if you really see the origin of Sogaripa, I'm not very well known about the system. I only heard one lecture of it in the Integrated University Sanchi and homeopathy. There is a very big time gap between the origin of these two systems. This is, Sogaripa, we can just put that into the time of ancient human race time when it has developed, very early. And homeopathy is a recently developed system of medicine of 18th and 19th century. But so much happened in between. We are finding a difference between these two understandings. As such, it is not, when homeopathy was taking its shape and the birth, before that, Rene Descartes in the 17th century, one philosopher of UK, he came up, Rene Descartes, known as Descartes. Because of his understanding and the philosophy, he made a division between mind and body. And before that, there was no such mind and body. if we study Ayurveda, if we study the ancient, medical sciences, including the Tsongkhapa, when they talk one word, they talk this one word for the mind and body together, because the separateness was never conceived those days, and because it is never separate. But courtesy to our Descartes, this division is being done, and homeopathy took birth thereafter. And that is why homeopathy is talking in these terms of mind, body, this and that. Am I clear to you? And the second is, most important question he is talking is about law of similia. If you really study about law of similia in detail, because it is another 2-hour session to understand about the law of similia, I would only request everyone present here to really go and study deep about the law of similia. Law of similia is not something which is the law of homeopathy only. We are not the sole taker of the law. It is a nature's law. And if in every medicine, if you try to work out how it works, what is the principle behind, there are basically two principles behind law of similia and law of similia. And they works like this. So, not to go into the details of this, I would request, please go into the details of law of similia. This will be explained. And one thing I would like to mention about this hot and all this, what we talk in Ayurveda, in Unani, in Tsongkhapa, in different these, things, they are about all these things what we call in our homeopathy is constitutions and temperament. In our terminologies, whatever you are saying is something about the constitutions and temperaments. So this is how we can understand each other's words. If you take this all constitutions, temperaments, and this hot and cold and this kind of thoughts, they are basically talking about the effects and blending of our endocrinal system. It is about the hormonal system, what we talk about constitution. So, in the modern medicine, what is called endocrinal system is known as hot kind of things, and in homeopathy we call it with the name of constitution and temperaments. Any other questions?
Let us stop here because we are running out of time, and
Yeah,
we have to
thank
again move to the next session in a different venue. Thank you, Dr. Pankaj-ji.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. And to do the honor, may I request Amjit Tenchimala to offer shawl and certificate of appreciation. Dr. Tenchimala.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.